morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to another episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. This is our fourth episode, and I'm encouraged by the overwhelming support the program has been receiving and the many messages urging me to continue what some people consider the very good information, very important information. From all indications, the program is becoming more and more popular by the week. I looked at the numbers related to the last three programs, and I can tell you that the first program was had a viewership of about 8,000. The second program had a viewership of over 9,000. And the last program here last week had a viewership of over 14,000. So that is clear indication that the program is becoming more and more popular. I want to take this opportunity to encourage you all to share the live stream, like the page so that you can get information or you can get notification when we go live. And remember, when the live stream is finished, you can still go on the page to view the recording of the current program on our previous program. So yes, we are going from strength to strength, and I really would like to encourage you to continue to see the program and to share the live stream. Share the stream so that more can be involved. Now, let me say this. Last week, I urged persons when we finished, while we were closing last week, I urged persons to take necessary precautions against COVID. If you recall, I told them, I asked you to keep yourself safe. And since that time, the average daily numbers have increased exponentially. The average daily numbers in Guyana of COVID cases, that has increased exponentially. So I want to again take this opportunity to urge us all to take all measures to be safe from this deadly virus. By now, you know the drill. Practice social distancing. Do everything to stay safe. Stay at home if you don't have to leave. Wash your hands. Use hand sanitizer. And wear a mask. We know the drill. Let's make sure that we protect ourselves at all times. Last week, I also spoke about promotions in the Guyana Police Force, or the lack of promotions in the Guyana Police Force. I'm happy to see that the list of junior promotions has been released. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate all the newly promoted ranks. However, looking at the list yesterday, that list was released yesterday. Looking at that list, I made some observations which I want to bring to your attention. The first observation I made is that the Corporate Communications Unit of the Guyana Police Force is set to have released the list to the media, the promotion list of the people junior promotions from the rank of Lance Corporals from the rank of Lance Corporal to Sergeant. Now, the first thing that struck me as strange is that the document is classified. If you look at the document, it is classified as being restricted. And I asked myself, and again here we are talking about incompetence. How can a document emanating from the force be classified and released to the public? First, I don't think the promotion list should be classified. Let's make this clear. It's a document that ought to have been released to the media as it was, but you have to remove the classification. You can't classify a document as restricted and then have it widely circulated to the media. So for those people who are operating there, admin and where else, let me tell you, that is not the way it is done. If it is classified, whatever the classification is, restricted, secret, top secret, whatever the classification is, it should not be released as widely as this promotion list was released. So get your house in order and understand how classifications work. So I know they listen, I know they're advised, and so therefore this is some free advice I am giving you, that again, if you are going to classify a document, whatever the classification is, you can then restrict it widely. Let's understand that. And then I noted too that in the media yesterday, on social media, many of the ranks who are preferred for promotion have complained about mix up with the numbers and mix up with the names. So you have a case where the number, and that's the regulation number I'm talking about, because as you know, policemen, you have, they say number, rank, name. So you are 9999, that's the number, then the rank, whatever rank it is, and then your name. So the number is a unique number that relates to a specific rank. So if you release a promotion list and the number does not correspond to the name, then the question is, who are you promoting? And ranks have asked questions about it. It has been raised. And my understanding is that from one of the social media comments, when they made contact with the Forces Corporate Communication Unit, or someone who they refer to perhaps as the public relations officer, they were not satisfied with the response they get. Well, I'm not surprised, because you have people who don't have a clue as to how things work. They believe that they're there just so propaganda. And so therefore, that is why you could not have gotten a proper response. But I say this to all the viewers. The solution is a simple one. And I hope they recognize that. Those in the administration, I hope they recognize that all they have to do is to make the necessary amendment, because you cannot have a document out where the number, the regulation number, does not correspond to the name and then claim or feel that that is okay. Do the amendment in the same special order, do the amendment in the force order to let the people, the anxiety that is there now as to whether they are in fact promoted, get that out of the way. People, when they are promoted, ought to be happy and ought to be in a celebratory mood. But when you have these type of things hanging, then sure, if the number is right or if the name is right, that takes away from the whole spirit. It takes away from the joy that a person should enjoy when they are promoted. So please address that issue. Now, another thing that came to mind, I looked at the list. Last evening, I looked at it, and I see that there were a total of 386 persons promoted. 386 promoted. I think in the regular force, it's something like 84 sergeants, 160 corporals, and 96 lance corporals. Very large list, very large promotion list. Now, right away, some serious questions will come to mind. When you're promoting 84 sergeants, are there vacancies for that many? And let me explain. The police force has a fixed establishment, meaning that you have a requirement for 1 commissioner, 4 deputy commissioner, and it goes all the way down the line onto constables. How many persons are supposed to be in the various rank structures? I recall sometime last year looking at the police seniority list and the number of sergeants on the list, and was surprised to find that you had at that time in excess of 60 sergeants over what it requires, over what the fixed establishment requires. I know in the past, such an overpopulation of the rank structure would have gotten the Auditor General involved. Because remember, when the budgets are released for salaries and emoluments or whatever, it is based on what the establishment calls for at the various levels. So to have more sergeants than the establishment requires should call for a query by the audit department. That was last year. And you would have known that from then to now, you have not had inspectors promoted, so they could not have been consequential promotions. Meaning, again, I need to explain because some people may not know, Consequential promotions, meaning that if you promote, let's say, 10 sergeants to the rank of inspector, then consequentially you will get your vacancies for 10 sergeants, because 10 sergeants move from the rank of sergeant to inspector. And therefore, you need to fill that 10 vacancies that would have been created at the sergeant level. But if you don't have inspectors being promoted, how is it that you have vacancies for 84 sergeants who were promoted at the last promotion release yesterday? And here again, I'm saying that I am not knocking the ranks who were promoted, because they maybe deserve the promotion that they got. But I'm pointing this out to the administration of the force, those incompetent people who sit there in administration or admin and perhaps don't have a clue as to what. So they just promote people without reference to the fixed establishment. No reference to the fixed establishment, so you just promote. Because too, we observe over the past year or even more than that, it has become very fashionable for persons to be promoted on the spot. So you go about. So when you look at the 84 sergeants promoted, and the fact that over the past year, I think you would have had others promoted on the spot. It begs the question: are they sticking to the establishment which sets out the number of sergeants to be promoted? Same thing for corporal, same thing for lance corporal. In the establishment, I know they lump corporal and lance corporal together, but I am sure that if you were to check the establishment, the fixed establishment, against the number of persons who were promoted before and now, you are going to find that in those levels, it is oversubscribed. And when I was the chairman of the Police Service Commission, we took pains to make sure that we stuck to the fixed establishment. So if there was a requirement for a particular number of inspector, we stuck to that. Because remember, apart from the consequentials I spoke to you about, they are consequentials. Consequentials can be based on promotion. Consequentials can be based on people retiring. Consequentials can be based on people leaving the force. Consequentials can be based on people expiring, people dying. So you fill those vacancies. That is how you arrive at the number. But as I've said before, I strongly suggest, it is my strong view that in promoting those persons yesterday, keen attention wasn't paid to the establishment, and therefore those ranks might now be oversubscribed. And people have asked about the senior promotion. I saw yesterday on social media someone asking the question whether the promotions that were made got the sanction of the Police Service Commission. There's no requirement. I think I had explained that before. The commissioner is the person who is responsible for promoting ranks to the level of lance corporals, or the level of lance corporal, corporal, and sergeant. That is the purview of the commissioner of police. The Police Service Commission deals with rank from inspector to assistant commissioner. The president appoints commissioner and deputy commissioner, having gone through a constitutional process of consultation with the chairman of the Police Service Commission and the chairman of the and the opposition leader. So it's the chairman of the Police Service Commission and the opposition leader for promotions to commissioner and deputy commissioner. So get this straight: the Police Service Commission would have nothing to do with promotions to corporal, lance corporal, and sergeant. And of course, the fact that there is no Police Service Commission means that there can be no lawful promotion to those ranks that I mentioned before, that is inspector to assistant commissioner. So people are now, having received the junior promotions, people are now perhaps anxiously awaiting to see what will happen with the senior promotions. Again, I remind you that the last senior promotion, the promotions in the last senior level, those promotions were made on the 28th of June last year, and immediately following, the government, through the Attorney General, said that they were not recognizing those promotions. So technically, no promotion really was released or accepted by the government since 2019. So you have people who are sergeants expecting promotions and cannot be promoted. I believe that they are very anxious. And I know, despite what people are telling you, and despite the promotions that were released yesterday, people are worried. People are worried. When you have a situation where 132 persons were promoted on the 28th of June, and the government decided that they're not going to recognize those promotions, people are going to be worried. Those 132 persons, as well as others, because it's a clear case where the politicians have decided that because they did not get their way in getting some of their favorites, some of their people promoted, then they are going to stop the whole process. So let's see how that will go. But I know that people are anxiously awaiting on the establishment of the Police Service Commission and to see how the promotions will go, how the senior promotions will go. So I say to you, let's just keep our fingers crossed. And again, congratulations to those who were promoted. And for the senior ones who are expecting promotion, keep your fingers crossed, keep your head above water, and hope for the best. Now, last week I told you about this colorful character in the police force, Inspector Prem Narayan. Remember? Let me remind you, I'm going to the teaching mode, so that when you start the class, you tend to want to refresh them of things that would have happened during the previous class to bring them up to date. Remember, I told you last week about Inspector Prem Narayan being involved in several things. First, I told you he was promoted from corporal to inspector. And I'm sure it was at the behest of politicians. He jumped a lot of people. He has no special qualification. He has no special skill. But as we came to see, the man is a political operative, so to speak. I mentioned that he was absent from duty around the election period when they had that fiasco at the election, the chairman of GCOM's office, when it is alleged that people tried to break into the office. And if you look at the video, which is circulating on social media, it's there for you to see. Prem Narayan, Inspector of Police, was prominent in all of that. He was very prominent in all of that. Now, I also told you of the matter where he was insulting to a magistrate sitting on the bench at the time. He was given evidence in a fraud matter. He asked to refresh his memory, and apparently the frequency of that request caused the magistrate to deny him the request. He became very insultive to the magistrate, at which stage the magistrate cited him for contempt and jailed him for 1 week. Sentenced him. He was sentenced to imprisonment by the magistrate for 1 week. So let's get that straight. The magistrate said, and I'm going to read it here, he was charged for unlawfully insulting a magistrate pursuant to Section 64(2) of the Summaries Jurisdiction Magistrate Act, Chapter 3:05. He was sentenced to 7 days imprisonment. The sentence was immediately or shortly after their appeal. The same day, the sentence was appealed, and the Chief Justice, listen to this carefully, the matter was not overturned. The decision to jail or to sentence Prem Narayan to imprisonment was not overturned. The Chief Justice ruled that the sentence, the 7-day sentence, was excessive and ordered that pursuant to Section 64(3) of the said Summary Jurisdiction Magistrate Act, Chapter 3:05, there be a partial remission. There be a partial remission of the sentence imposed to reflect detention from the time the order of the sentence was passed on the 22nd day of May 2019 to no later than 16:30 hours on the said day, May 22nd, 2019. Now, what does that mean? That means that the inspector was sentenced to 1 week imprisonment by the sitting magistrate, The matter was appealed, and the Chief Justice said, Chief Justice did not say that he did not commit the offense and dismiss the matter. The Chief Justice said that the 1-week sentence was excessive. And basically what she said, she's going to give a partial remission. And that remission would be so that the time that he served, from whatever time the magistrate said that he sentenced, up to 1630 the same day. So the man was properly convicted by the magistrate. The man was properly convicted by the magistrate. And as again I say, the Chief Justice did not overturn the conviction. The Chief Justice said that the sentence, the 1-week sentence was excessive, and therefore let me give a partial remission to the time that he was detained from when the sentence was passed up to 1630 the same day. Now, that is, to my mind, that alone should have warranted further action on the part of the administration, on the part of the powers that be. Let me explain what action. Now, once a policeman is convicted before a court, it is almost automatic dismissal from the force. It is almost automatic. The person is dismissed in the public interest because it is held that you can't have a person who is convicted serving as a member of the force. But Premier Ryan has special dispensation. So notwithstanding the fact that he was convicted by the magistrate for insulting a sitting magistrate, we need to understand this. This is not a case where the magistrate was on the road and this inspector insulted the magistrate. The magistrate was sitting on the bench, clothed with all the legal authority that such a position holds. And he insults the magistrate while the magistrate is on the bench. And you know what followed. But nothing has happened. He's still there serving. He was installed by Brutus as the chairman of the police association. As I explained before, the purpose of him being put there was had to do with the nomination of persons to sit on the police service commission. And he duly obliged by nominating 4 persons. And I said before, and I'm saying it again, I am sure that those names would have been given to him to submit to Parliament. And I am sure there was no consultation with the other members of the police association. There was no process where they would have gone through to identify those persons. And I asked the question, how did they know these persons? If you're going to nominate persons to sit on the police service commission, one would expect that the police association would have gone through a transparent process where the names would have come up, the members would have vetted the names, and the members would have decided whether these names or whether these persons were suitably qualified to be put on the police service commission. But that did not happen on this occasion, I'm sure. The names given, the names submitted. And you will note from the release, I think it's by Parliament or the other persons who were consulted would have been the ex-police association. They nominated someone. That nomination did not find favor. And some other body, they would have approached community policing, and these people they would have approached, and they did not supply name. So the 4 names that were put up, or the 4 names that were recommended and would be sent to the president, are the 4 names submitted by the police association. In other words, the 4 names submitted by Premier Ryan. But this is a man who, as I've said, the magistrate convicted for insulting the sitting magistrate. Now, as I've said, the other issue is that, understand, the man is convicted, yet still the man is a member of the force. The man is still there as a member of the force. So you can, as we say in Guyana, pick sense out of nonsense. Why is he still in the force? And I have a very important question, because I said things like that warrants automatic dismissal. I know, because if you're an inspector, the police force would have sent the report to the Police Service Commission, and the Police Service Commission would have had no choice but to say, because that is the thing, dismiss from whatever date, and not the dismissal is normally from the date of the conviction. right? The dismissal is from the date of the conviction, the person is dismissed. Several persons in recent times, even while I was the chairman of the Police Office Commission, we had cause to dismiss a few persons who were convicted. So it's automatic. Once you're convicted in the court, you're dismissed. Junior ranks, commissioner will dismiss them. If you're from the rank of inspector, you were dismissed. I know that there was an issue, or still is an issue, where a lot of junior ranks were dismissed unlawfully because they were, once you're charged and placed before the court, the next step is for you to be interdicted from duty. So once you're charged, you're interdicted. And it used to be placed on half pay pending the outcome of the charge. Pending the outcome. Some people have argued that based on the public service rules, some recent decision, that people should not be deprived of their salary. So even if you are interdicted, you should continue to get your full salary until the outcome of the case. But I know that in recent time, the ill-advised and misadvised senior people in the force were dismissing ranks, junior ranks. So you're charged pending the outcome of the criminal charge, and even before the outcome of the criminal charge, they are dismissed. Unlawful, wrong, cannot happen, should not happen. I remember interacting with the Attorney General's chamber when I was the chairman, and they made it clear, Mr. Slow, this cannot happen. And the government has been paying out, because once those persons challenge the dismissal, they win in court, and they get a lot of money out of that. So I know that that was the practice. I don't know if it is still the practice. But I say that once a person is interdicted, because the interdiction notice tells you that you're interdicted pending the outcome of this criminal charge. So go and say you're dismissing the person even before the charge is determined by the court. That is so wrong. Now, the next thing that's prompted to mind in this Brendan case, and the policemen who are viewing, because I understand lots of police would tune into this program to hear what is going on. Normally, once a person is convicted, you have a process where you make out a conviction report. The conviction report is sent to the CRO, there is a criminal records office, and it goes into the record as a convicted, that this person is convicted. I asked the question, was a conviction report made out in the case of Prem? Would the record reflect that Prem was convicted and sentenced to 1 week in prison, and then after the Chief Justice intervened and say, well, time served, or time was that report put into the system? I suspect not. And if it has not been put in the system, why? Is it because this man is getting special treatment? Huh? Make sure that the correct thing is done. Make sure that the correct thing is done. And imagine, I said that this man with all of these things against him, Prem Narayan, with all of this against him, he had the audacity to join with this incompetent senior superintendent Brutus to challenge the Police Service Commission in respect to the promotions that were to be made at the end of 2020. And again, this thing is so strange because these people challenged a promotion that was not made. The promotion had not been made. The promotions were not released. We were in the process of finalizing these promotions, and they moved to court on the 31st of December 2020 to challenge. We know what happened there. The Chief Justice threw out the challenge. In other words, they lost the case. But this is the man. At the time when he joined Brutus to challenge, this is a man who the magistrate had sentenced to 1 week in prison for insulting the magistrate. Folks, things as a certain man used to say, things not regular. Things not regular. And the man is there, prominent in the system, installed as the chairman of the Police Association, gets the opportunity to submit names to the parliament for proposals to sit on the Police Service Commission. That is the character that we are dealing with. A man who is there at GCOM office as part of the crew to get into the office of the Election Commission's chairman when at the time he was absent from duty. And that is the person who the government is one of them that the government wants promoted. He's one of them. As a result of that, the government decided to come strong, come hard against members of the Police Service Commission with a view to dismantling the Police Service Commission, because the Police Commission said, hey, we are not going to do things that are unlawful, unethical, illegal. We're going to stick to the process. We're going to stick to the established procedure. These people have matters pending, and therefore, if they have matters pending, they cannot be considered at this time for promotion. That is what encouraged. That is what caused the government to go berserk. And you know the word berserk. If you look at the spelling, one man looked at the spelling and he pronounced it Borskew. Berserk. Man went berserk because they did not get their way. Brutus was not going to be promoted. He was not shortlisted. KARIM was not shortlisted. Others were not shortlisted. So therefore, this process started. And I reviewed the documents, you know. Reviewed the documents. The 23rd of December, the commission met shortlist. The very next day, Brutus writing to these officers to tell them they are being investigated for criminal offenses, criminal breaches. All the alleged breaches were associated with the election period. Every single one, right? And then the Chief Justice, in reviewing all of that, said that she found Brutus to be self-serving. And I asked the question before, and I asked, when you look at the definition for self-serving, they talk about a person being dishonest, incompetent, looks after himself only at the expense of the others and the organization. How come such a person can still be functioning in the role of administration, the lead man in administration in the Ghana Police Force? And things are going to get worse. Things are going to get worse because, as I've said before, these people are incompetent and they don't have competent people to guide them. So the blind leading the blind. So that is why, coming back to the junior promotion, you can find that the numbers and names, you have a mismatch in numbers and name. You can find that promotions are made without reference to the fixed establishment. So it doesn't matter. Promote, even though the establishment says that you ought to have this number of sergeants, this number of corporals, this number of lance corporals. Forget about that. We're doing our own thing. Just promote. And the worrying part, I was reminded by a former police finance officer a few weeks ago that in the past, something like that would have gotten the Auditor General breathing down your neck. How can you do that? How can you do that? Where the money is coming from to pay these people? But those things are no longer relevant because, as I've said, you have incompetent people running the show, the blind leading the blind, and therefore, you know, that is what is going on. Victimization, people have reached out, up to this morning, people reach out to me, Mr. Chief, you cannot imagine how intimidated and how demoralized people are. And they have cited instances, right? People have cited specific cases and instances to tell you that this is what is going on. To tell you that this is what is going on in the organization, and no one pays any mind. So I'm telling you, I'm revealing these things so that perhaps the journalists and the people with inquiring mind who are listening can ask questions, seeking to get answers. I think one of the questions you might want to ask is whether the number of sergeants in the force exceeds what is required by the fixed establishment. That is what you need to find out. And then when the time comes for the promotion dates, you know, when persons are promoted, you're given a particular date. In the properly run system, you have, as I've said, the establishment is fixed, so therefore a promotion is made to replace someone who would have retired. So if a person retired from the 1st of January 2021, someone gets that appointment from the 1st of January 2021, and he gets pay, he gets the back pay for that period. Now, over the years in the police force and at the Police Service Commission, before the commission that I chaired entered, something developed where once the promotion is made, let's say 1st of January in a particular year, all the promotions in that level, everybody get the same date. So there was no consideration for who replaces whom along the line. So if promotion made the 1st of January 2018, everyone would get that date. And I understand that the people responsible had made statement to say that, look, police don't want money. Police don't need, because when you give the date, as I explained before, the back date, then when the government order is published, people get paid from the day that they were promoted. They say, nah, police ain't got to get no back date. So they give everybody the one date. And what has happened over the years is that you have had problems now with seniority. Because if you look at the senior superintendents, if you look at certain ranks, you will see all of them get promoted the same day. Everybody gets promoted the same day. And therefore, men will jostle for seniority. But that is not how the system should work. When the commission that I chaired took over, every promotion that was made, we looked to make sure that the correct dates were given. It's a painstaking process to see when a man retired or when a man left, and therefore you make sure that the new promotions corresponded with those dates. So if a man retired in January 1, person gets that date. And that addresses the seniority issue as well. So when you promote 84 sergeants without inspectors being promoted, what date are those persons going to be given? I mean, people glad to know that they get promoted to sergeant, but the manner in which this is done, you are going to be affected. You are going to be affected because there's no back pay to get, no back date to get for seniority and all of that. So imagine a man who's promoted to sergeant and perhaps get a year or two more in the service. Nothing there to positively impact on your gratuity and on your pension, because I am sure that what is going to happen, everybody's going to be given maybe 1st of January 2022 or yesterday's date when the promotion was made. That should not be. But they cannot do anything otherwise because the promotions of the Police Service Commission have not been recognized, and there's no Police Service Commission to promote inspectors so that those persons can get the dates for when those persons were promoted. So it's good to celebrate that you're promoted, but if you look down the road, the manner in which this is done is likely to adversely impact on your gratuity, especially if you're close to retirement and whatever pension and so on. So you got to look at it in the macro sense, look at it holistically. Don't just glad that you get a promotion now, but how will it affect your benefits down the road? So I'm giving you some information so that you can pursue this information to make sure that your benefits are not affected. But as I've said, the manner in which this is done, if the dates have not been published as yet, because most times when promotions are made, especially the junior level, the dates are not published in the special order, but in a subsequent force order, the dates are going to be published. And watch out for when the dates are published. They're going to give you all one date, either January 2022, January 1st, 2022, January 11, 2022, everybody get that same date, and therefore seniority comes into question, and your benefits will also come into question. So these are the deeper things that you need to know. These are the things that you need to know, and these are the things I will tell you so that you can raise questions, you can ask questions, and seek to make sure that your benefits are properly protected. So that is what I want to say about the promotions. Now let me move on. Let me move on to another subject. I should be able to complete this other one for today. So having dealt with the promotion, having dealt with Mr. Inspector Prem, one of the other protagonists that I want to deal with is Senior Superintendent Fazil KARIM. As you know, Senior Superintendent Fazil KARIM is the head of SOKU, the Special Organized Crime Unit. First, you need to know how we got there. He did not get there because he's qualified. I don't even think he has a diploma. I don't think he has any special skill. He got there, we came to know, because if you recall, when the government came into office on August the 2nd last year, no, sorry, 2020, SOKU was without a head. Nobody was in charge. And I understand that he was recommended. They say, oh, he used to prosecute. And therefore, he was put there. He was just installed to be the head of SOKU. And we have seen what has been happening at SOKU. We have seen what is happening. But even before that, let me walk you through the little that I know of Senior Superintendent Fazil KARIM. He worked with me in Borbies. When I was a commander in Borbies, when I got there, he was there in Borbies. I think he was a corporal prosecuting at the Reliance Magistrate Court. I recall very well him coming to me one day and making all sorts of complaints about the previous commander. I listened to him. And then during that period, he was involved in a very serious, a very unsavory incident. We were looking for a man who was wanted. Police were on the alert for a man who was wanted and was making all kinds of threats against the police. I think this was even before the prison break, this infamous prison break, which sparked off all the unrest in Ghana. But this man was being sought after. And one afternoon, KARIM, we got information that this man might have been in some area. So KARIM led a patrol to go look for this man. The report suggests they went into an abandoned house where they got information that this person might have been hiding out. And when they got there, KARIM, according to his statement, according to what he said, he saw someone run into a cupboard. And assuming that it was a wanted man, he opened fire. In other words, he shot at the cupboard with a rifle that he was carrying. Shot at the cupboard. When the dust settled, as we would say, and they saw who the person was, it was a young schoolboy. I think his last name was Griffith. Shot him in the ankle. The force of the bullet shattered the ankle, shattered the ankle. The youngster ended up losing his foot because of that. Now, in the usual manner, at the time an investigation was done and the file was sent to the DPP's chamber. I can't remember who was the DPP at the time. It might have been Mr. Animan Singh, Mr. Animan. I can't remember who it was. But the file was sent there and no criminal charge was recommended. But here you are, this person acting what we all believe was very recklessly, because he shot at the cupboard without even identifying, without even knowing who was in the cupboard. The boy lost his leg. That was widely publicized at the time. The boy lost his leg. Luckily, he did not die. But it was a reckless act on the part of Fazil KARIM. Can't remember what his rank was at the time. But this is a man that, notwithstanding the fact that despite showing such poor judgment in that matter, not being charged for whatever reason, the legal people said perhaps they couldn't prove that he intended to shoot. Whatever it was, he wasn't charged. But he kept moving up in the organization. He kept, like George Jefferson, keep moving on up, kept moving on up. And as I indicated some time ago, he is one of the persons who the president asked about his promotion, KARIM promotion. Now, he wasn't promoted because of he wasn't denied consideration because of the incident in Borbies. But over the years, he has had issues. I recall him being, and this is recent times, he was sent to be in charge of Linden. I think he replaced Brutus when Brutus was at Linden, and Brutus ran afoul of the people there. I think I explained before where he unlawfully detained the mayor Man showing power, some issue with the mayor. The commander, Calvin Brutus, arrested the mayor, and I think he would have detained the mayor for some period of time. And the people they were outraged, and the administration moved him. He was replaced with KARIM. KARIM went there, and after a while, allegations were made against KARIM. The policewomen alleged that he would aggressively pursue them. So he was moved from Linden and he was sent to West Demerara. He got to West Demerara and similar allegations were made by the policewomen. That this is the man who came after them aggressively. And when they rebuffed his approaches, then they are victimized. And you would not believe this, but I say the records are there. Allegation made against this man at Linden that he harassing the policewomen. They moved him to West Demerara. Allegation made at West Demerara that he is continuing this same type of behavior. And you will not believe that the powers that be at the time felt that the best place to put him was at the police training college with all those vulnerable female recruits. So they put him at the police service college, and as was to be expected, allegations again that he aggressively pursuing these policewomen. Two of them wrote formal statements and made formal complaints. I think the incident at Linden, the incident at West Demerara were not formally reported as far as I'm aware. And for disciplinary action, well, I know it wasn't reported to the Police Service Commission because if it was reported, action would have been taken. But these two who made the report to the administration reported to the Police Service Commission. So the Police Service Commission had no option but to investigate the allegation. But let me back up to tell you that even before then, allegations were made against him at the police training college that he was doing this. These allegations were made to a senior police, female police officer. Senior female police officer. And the information is that she called KARIM to follow up on the reports that was made. And he denied. Typical police business, allegation put to you, he denied. And then he was confronted with WhatsApp messages and messages on the phones of the females, at which stage he had to back down. And you know what happened to the matter? You know what happened to that? Swept under the carpet. Report made to a senior female police officer that vulnerable recruits are being harassed by this senior officer at the training college. And she thought it best to sweep it. No report, did not follow it up, sweep it under the carpet. And of course, he continued. What do you expect? What do you expect? The man believed that the man is emboldened. The man believed he can carry out his acts with impunity. And he continued. He continued. So on the occasion that the matter was reported to the administration reported the matter to the Police Service Commission. The Police Service Commission, following the Constitution, following the Police Discipline Act, Chapter 1701, caused an investigation to be done. The investigation was done, and it was recommended that he be charged for the breaches, 2 breaches, where he approached these 2 female recruits in an inappropriate manner. The investigation done. Now, he was charged departmentally with these 2 breaches. And before the inquiry could have been held, he moved to the High Court to squash the disciplinary proceedings. And here again, this is another case. There are similar cases that I'm sure you can refer to, where people are proclaiming their innocence. People are proclaiming that they did nothing wrong. But when you're to have an inquiry to determine whether they did wrong or not, then they move to court to stop the inquiry. I say this and I ask this question. If you're so innocent, why are you trying to stop the inquiry? I can tell you this, as you, the viewers, know. There are several trumped-up charges against myself, people like Mr. Conway, and some ex-police officers. We are anxiously awaiting we are anxious to have the matter ventilated in court because we know the trumped up nature will be brought to bear and we will be vindicated in the end. We are confident of that. We're not going to move to have matters squashed, like a certain senior government functionary who was charged with, I think, larceny, and then the matter went through a certain stage where he was called upon to lead a defense. And rather than leading a defense to prove your innocence, the man moved to court to have the matter squashed. That is what they do, despite the fact that they are so confident that they are innocent. They don't want the matter to be ventilated. They don't want the matter to be heard. So this is a case with KARIM Bash. So even though he proclaimed his innocence, he moved to the High Court to have the matter thrown out, citing all kind of, he said, some irregularity on the part of the investigator and all of that. And that matter was thrown out. The challenge he brought was thrown out. He has since, I understand, he has since appealed that decision from the judge. And I don't know what has happened to the appeal, but as far as I know, the matter is still pending against him because the appeal has not been heard. The disciplinary matter, the inquiry has not been done. So there you have it with him. There you have it with him in terms of what he is all about. Now, I also noted in respect to the same, I remember told you that these people, they're listening, you know. They are listening. In Guyanese parlance, I got to explain these things because I am conscious of the fact that we have viewers who are not Guyanese and might not be familiar with some of these terms. As they would say, them a watch me. Them a watch me. You would know that some weeks ago, I made mention about the same KARIM Bash on his unprofessional action. And let me explain again, unprofessional. This is a man who the Police Service Commission had cast to institute disciplinary proceedings against. He then challenged the proceedings in court, right? And this is the same man, Fazil KARIM Bash, the head of SOKU, who instituted or initiated investigations against the chairman of the Police Service Commission, another member of the Police Service Commission, while he has matter pending, while the commission has matter pending against him. How more unprofessional you can get. How more you are there, even if you're in charge of the unit, and the unit has to do an investigation. Professionalism would have dictated that this unit or the head of this unit recuse himself from the whole investigation. That is a professional thing. And that is what the Chief Justice had remarked in the Brutus case. Because when the Chief Justice, this is on the 18th of June, now get me dates right, you know, because I know that they're listening and they're going to try to find fault with everything. On the 18th of June, 2021, when the Chief Justice went into the Brutus matter, and she discovered that she gone into it before, but on the 18th is when she made this pronouncement. She wanted to know how come Senior Superintendent Calvin Brutus can be writing letter to his rivals, that is our word, his rivals on the 24th of December to tell them that they are being investigated. She asked the lawyer, it doesn't look wrong to you? The lawyer said, well, you know, he wrote the letter, but he's not the one doing the investigation. She said, why didn't the persons in charge of the investigation write the letter? She said, this is a case where this man is writing to his rivals to tell them that they are being investigated. With the KARIM Bash case, this is a case where SOKU is spearheading and I know he personally initiated the investigation. I'll tell you about that at some stage. He personally initiated the investigation, which resulted in the charge of conspiracy to commit fraud against myself, Mr. Conway, a whole set of retired senior police officers, a whole set of serving police officers. He initiated that process. He knew. I have all the facts and all the evidence. He initiated that process. So no professionalism. And then when, as I said, watch me. So when I made mention of that, the Corporate Communications Unit of the Ghana Police Force, and I call them the Corporate Propaganda Unit, they came out with a release to say how SOKU is doing such a fantastic job, and they interviewed some ranks there, and the ranks were full of praise for the way it is functioned. They have this open discussion. Rubbish, BS, BS. Look at the composition of SOKU. Look at the composition. You have a lot of people who are comebackies. Again, let me explain for those who don't understand the word comebackies. These are people who have retired from the force and were re-employed and were sent to SOKU. You think they're going to tell you anything bad about KARIM or the unit? You have some people there who are civilians. They're not police, they're civilians working there. You think they're going to tell you anything bad about KARIM and the unit? You think they're going to tell you anything bad about KARIM and the unit? You have a man in charge. Look, and again, as I said to you, don't take my word as gospel. Do your research. Don't be lazy. Do your research. You will find that not so long ago, the man wrote a memo to the staff members telling them that they got to work from what time to what time. And look at the language. Look at the language the senior superintendent of police writing. The thing is there for you to see. Look at the language when he's talking about exigencies, permits, and somebody remarked that their first grade student or their first grade child would have done better than that. But that is the type of incompetence you have. That is the type of incompetence you have. And the worrying thing that these are the ones who are being pushed into senior positions. I say this without any fear of contradiction. Fazil Karim Bash, the man in charge of SOKU, is not qualified for that position. He's not qualified academically. He's not qualified otherwise to be in charge of such an important unit. SOKU, the Special Organized Crime Unit, investigated myself, Conway, and some Serving and other police officers for conspiracy to commit fraud, and they claimed that the total amount involved was $10 million. Tell me if that is the function of the Special Organized Crime Unit. Tell me. Tell me. You're investigating people for conspiracy to commit fraud in the sum of $10 million. And for those of you who don't know, there's about 50,000 US. Oh, that falls into the category of a organized crime. Oh, that falls into the category of an organized crime. But that's what you have. That is what you have. And as I've said before, things are not likely to get better because they are the persons who are favored by the government. Look, I am no opium man, you know. People tell me, people reach out to me. In my interview with Travis Chase, following some comments made by the Attorney General and the Vice President, I said it was just a matter of time that SOKU is going to find something to give to the former Finance Minister, Winston Jordan. And a couple of weeks after, what do you think what happened? SOKU institute charges against Winston Jordan. Am I surprised? Are you surprised? That was there clear as crystal clear for you to see. So that is the person you have. He's put there to do that. And let me say this, again, without fear of contradiction. All of those charges are not written up, are not by SOKU. When you look at the wording and so on, those charges would come or direct from a place, according to Mr. Conway, a place that is southwest of the SOKU office. You know, typical police. Conway did not call the name of the building from which those things would emanate. But he said the building is located southwest of SOKU headquarters. And I support that. I support that. I told you before that I saw a report emanating from SOKU, signed by Romana, Krishnanath Romana, making out a report, making out a case for a rank to be charged. He didn't write the report. He did not write the report. The report quoted case laws and all of that. Right? Case laws out of India. He did not write the report. That report was written from someone located in an office southwest of SOKU office, and Romana signed. I see that our time is up. You know, the time flies when things are nice, man. Time flies when things are nice. They always up. And I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for listening. I hope that I have provided you with interesting information. I want to end this week as I ended last week by urging you again to take all precautions against this increase in COVID. You know, I crunched the figures, and over the past week, Guyana's had a daily average of 767 COVID cases. So that's reported cases. I know of at least 2 persons who have had tests about a week now, and to date, they cannot get the results. So things are chaotic, or as the former traffic chief years ago, he memorialized by things are chaotic, right? Things are chaotic. So make sure that you take all the necessary precautions to keep yourself and your family safe. Again, I thank you, and God's willing, we will be again. I'll be again with you next week, Wednesday at 11 o'clock Guyana time, 10 o'clock New York time, for the 5th episode of Speaking Out, Exposing Corruption and Incompetence. Bye.